The Kurdish people have been here for a very, very long time. Their story goes back thousands of years. They are the native people of the high, rocky lands of Mesopotamia. This land, which people often call Kurdistan, is full of mountains and valleys. The Zagros and Taurus mountains are where their families have lived for ages. This is where their way of life began. It's a way of life that is very close to the land. For thousands of years, they have grown food on this land. They have led their animals to graze on its hills. Their connection to this land is older than many of the countries that now say it's their land. This connection is not just about history. It feels like a spiritual thing too. It is the very heart of who they are. Kurdish culture is rich and full of life. It has lasted even with very big problems. Their language, Kurdish, has many different ways of speaking it. It holds the poems and stories of many, many years. Music is a very important part of who they are. The beautiful, sad songs of the, who are like singing storytellers, tell stories of love, sadness, and fighting for their rights. Old traditional dances bring people together. They celebrate life with a spirit that cannot be broken. Newroz, the Kurdish New Year, is a festival for new beginnings. It is a sign of standing up to cruel leaders. It is a strong way of showing that they are here and they matter. The fact that their culture has stayed so strong shows how strong they are. The early 1900s were a terrible time for the Kurds. The Ottoman Empire, which had ruled them for a long time, fell apart after World War I. The countries that won the war, like Britain and France, drew new maps for the Middle East. They thought mostly about what they wanted. They did not care much about the people who lived there. A paper called the Treaty of Sèvres in 1921 promised the Kurds a way to have their own country. This was a small moment of hope. It meant others saw they had the right to choose their own future. But this promise was quickly broken. It disappeared like smoke in the air. Powerful people had other ideas for that part of the world. The Treaty of Lausanne in 1923 decided what would happen to the Kurds. It said nothing about a Kurdistan or rights for Kurdish people. Instead, their homeland was split up. It was divided between 4 countries that were new or changed: Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. These new borders were not natural. They were drawn by powerful countries from far away. These lines cut through towns, split up families, and planted the seeds for future troubles. The Kurds, who were one people with their own culture and history, became small groups in these new countries. They were a nation without a country of their own. This division was a very big and unfair thing. Turkey, where the most Kurds live, has a long and harsh history of trying to control them. For many years, the Turkish government said that Kurds did not even exist. They were officially called Mountain Turks. This was done on purpose to try to make them lose what made them special and different. The Kurdish language was not allowed in public places. It was not allowed in schools, in government buildings, or on the news. Speaking Kurdish could get you arrested and put in jail. Printing books or papers in Kurdish was against the law. Children were punished if they spoke their own language at school. These unfair rules about language tried to cut them off from their past and culture. It was an attempt to make them forget who they are. The Turkish army has fought many times in the areas in the southeast where most Kurds live. These fights involved terrible violence. Thousands of Kurdish villages were destroyed, especially in the 1990s. Millions of Kurds were forced to leave the homes where their families had always lived. They became like homeless people in their own country. Killings without a proper court decision, people disappearing, and torture happened a lot. The very hard and sad situation of the Kurds is not just in Turkey. In Iraq, Kurds suffered terribly under Saddam Hussein's government. The Anfal attacks in the late 1980s were a terrible attempt to kill many Kurds. About 182,000 Kurds are thought to have died. The chemical bomb attack on the town of Halabja in 1988, which killed thousands of ordinary people, is still a horrible reminder of how cruel it was. A Kurdish government was set up in northern Iraq after 1991, giving them some power to rule themselves, but it can still be easily harmed. It has problems with the government in Baghdad and with other countries nearby meddling. Just having this Kurdish government causes disagreement and problems. In Iran, Kurds have also faced a long time of being treated unfairly and kept down by force. The government there is very distrustful of Kurdish hopes for rights to their culture and to have a say in politics. Kurdish people who try to make political changes are often arrested, tortured, and killed. The government strictly limits teaching the Kurdish language and ways for Kurds to show their culture. The border areas where many Kurds live are filled with soldiers and army bases. The world has mostly been quiet about the suffering of the Kurdish people. What powerful countries want for their own power and position in the world often matters more than people's rights. Powerful Western countries, like the United States and countries in Europe, have complicated connections with the countries that treat Kurds badly. Turkey, for example, is part of NATO. It's seen as an important partner for safety in an area where things can change suddenly and become dangerous. Because of this, these countries often don't want to say bad things about Turkey's record on human rights, especially about how it treats its Kurdish people. Interest in oil in Iraq and Iran also plays a big part in how these countries deal with each other. This quietness shows that Western countries are not always fair. It's like they say one thing, but do another. These countries often speak very well and clearly about fairness, freedom, and human rights. Yet, what they do tells a different story. They give help and sell weapons to governments that use these same weapons to stop Kurds who disagree or speak out. They use polite words when talking with these governments, while pretending not to see the bad treatment that happens in an organized way, again and again. When they use their rules only when it helps them, it makes people believe less that they are good and fair. It sends a clear message to people who are treated badly, like the Kurds. Their rights can be sacrificed if they get in the way of what powerful countries want for themselves. This is the sad and distrustful truth about how countries often act with each other. India, which fought for its own freedom from foreign rule, is seen by many as a country that understands what is right. It became a country that rules itself, strongly supporting the rights of people who were treated unfairly. Its belief in fairness for everyone and respect for different groups connects with the Kurdish hopes for respect and the right to choose their own future. India has usually chosen not to take sides with big, powerful groups of countries. It has often spoken up for people who were silenced by powerful countries. There is a strong feeling that it's the right thing for India to do to speak up for the Kurdish people. This is not about meddling in another country's business. It is about supporting and defending human rights that everyone should have. India can help in several important ways. By talking with other countries, it can bring up the issue of Kurdish rights in big meetings of countries, like the UN. It can support peaceful talks and ways to solve problems through politics. It can encourage countries in that part of the world to respect different cultures and languages. India can also help start programs where Kurdish people and others can share their cultures. This would help save their important history and culture and help people understand each other better. By using its influence through culture and ideas, and by making its own decisions about other countries, India can become a sign of hope for the Kurds.